Welcome everyone to Reimagining the Magic. I'm Katie.
I'm Julie.
And this is episode 5. And today's episode we're going to talk about Disney on television. But first, let's get into some Disney news of the week.
And there has been a lot of news this week. A lot has happened. I guess the most notable being which was the Disney LA Times feud, in which the LA Times ran an article depicting their business relationship with the city of Anaheim, where Disneyland is located, and it wasn't necessarily bad. They were just saying, hey, we're not really sure Disney is pulling their weight here. And then Disney was like, well, we don't really like what you're saying, so we're not going to allow any of your critics to come to our film screenings. So a lot of people got pretty angry about that. There was a lot of solidarity in the journalism community with people just coming out saying, well, we're going to boycott Disney's movies. Well, there was a resolution to the story. The LA Times and Disney did talk about it, and they have restored a working relationship. And I think that's the right move, because you can't shut the press up like that. Like, that's just not cool. You can't be a big corporation and do that.
Disney tried to say, that's fake news. Nope.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think it's an honest thing to look at. Like, if you've got a massive company who's got a huge presence in your city, it's fair to judge how they are affecting that city. So I think Disney was in the wrong, but I'm glad that everything's been smoothed over now, because freedom of the press, yay.
And speaking of Disneyland California, if you were there during the month of September and you're feeling ill and you have Legionnaire's disease, well, they've been finding cases of Legionnaire's in Disneyland from September, and they've shut off the 2 water coolant units that they've found high levels of risk with. But people who were in the park in September who contract Legionnaire's and can get back to the park have gone in touch with Disney, because it is kind of their fault.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's important. If you've been there and you're showing symptoms, you should definitely get to a doctor that is and these kind of things crop up every now and then in places with high traffic. I mean, I know that I've been on a cruise twice, and both times they were like, here's what to do if norovirus breaks out on the ship. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, they're right. If this breaks out here, we're all stuck here. So places with high traffic like that, it happens. Just make sure that when you go, you wash your hands and just practice good hygiene. And, maybe while you're there over the next couple of weeks, drink bottled water.
And more so than just that, when you're at Disney, it's really important to eat food they have prepped for you, because you don't know what could be out and about. If you just bring in your sandwich from outside of the park and leave it in your stroller or whatever while you're on a ride, you don't know what could be contracted to with all the people walking around.
Right, yeah. So make sure just practice good food safety, good hygiene practices while you're there. And if you are showing signs, go see a doctor quick.
And Disney's announced we'll be getting 2 holiday specials, one over Thanksgiving and one for Christmas. Both will, or at least one of them. They haven't given us a lot of info about it, but one or both will have behind-the-scenes footage for Toy Story Land in the Studios park, and with Star Wars Land at Disneyland Park. So if you're curious about either of them, definitely check out those holiday specials.
And they're going to be cool. I have some friends that are workers at Disney, former workers at Disney, who just like to go for fun, who were at the filming, and they had a couple of pictures that were really cool. So I think it's going to be a good special.
Let's see, there's been some more news. What else have we gotten this week?
Pirates is going to be closed. So if you are planning on going to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, I believe it's going to be closed in both locations. It's going to be closed from February 26, 2018 to March 18th, 2018. So if you are planning a trip during that time, they will be unfortunately closed. They are going to be getting rid of the We Want the Redhead and the winch auction.
And that update has sparked a lot of controversy, but Disney believes it's the best thing for the attraction, so they're going to do it.
Well, I mean, I can't wait to see what it gets replaced with. I like new things. I like to see innovation, and so hey, I mean, even the animatronics will probably get updated, which will be really cool.
Well, they said that the redhead is not going away. She's just getting a different role.
Hmm.
So definitely want to see what that happens.
Speaking of other things that are closed, gone, etc., Disney Quest is now closed and demolished. It is that was official, I guess, as of 2 weeks ago. That was in downtown Disney, which I guess is Disney Springs now.
It's downtown Disney.
Will always be downtown Disney.
So,
I will forever remember so downtown Disney. There's a section of it for adults called Treasure Island.
Pleasure Island.
Pleasure Island, sorry. And I will never forget, we went on a band trip, and we were standing outside waiting to get on the bus, and over the intercom, we heard, "Would the bald man with some article of clothing please get off the pool table?" We could hear this outside. It was on their intercom PA system, and I remember we just died laughing. Mostly because we were imagining as one of our band directors.
There is a lot of awesome stuff in the old downtown Disney Pleasure Island district, and that was all Eisner's idea. But now that Bob Iger's there, it's all gone.
Oh, is it gone?
Yeah, all the nightclubs are gone. They got turned into shops and restaurants.
We didn't get to go to Disney Springs while we were there in March, but I'd always hoped to be able to see Pleasure Island, so that's kind of disappointing. Well,
it closed in 2008 when I turned 18, and I was like, no.
Right? It was like, we're too young, we can't go, and now that I'm old enough, it's gone. Yeah, so it's disappointing, but hey, progress is progress. Gotta feed the masses their toys.
Speaking of progress, this podcast is brought to you by Breach, that's BREACH.TV, your new media home for music, movies, podcasts, and more. Check it out today.
And we want to thank all of our new followers on social media. And if you haven't followed us yet, you can find us on Facebook. We are Reimagining the Magic. And on Twitter at Reimagine the Magic. And if you'd like to follow me, I do have a personal Twitter account that's at JA Yates, YEATES. Oh, sorry, it's writer J.A. Yates on Twitter. So you can follow me. I do tweet some Disney news. I think I mostly tweet my personal writing struggles. So I'm not doing NaNoWriMo this year, but I am working on my own novel.
Yay!
Oh, go ahead.
And you can follow us. We're on Reddit and on Tumblr under Reimagine
Oh, we
Magic.
have a Reddit now. Oh, that's exciting. I'm going to have to get on there.
So yeah, definitely come find us. And every other episode, we do take in input from our audience. So definitely hop on there, social media, check us out. Throw us your ideas, and you might be featured on an episode.
Yeah, and at the end of the episode, we will have this week's question. So stick around and get involved and send us. We don't bite, we promise. Like you can talk to us on social media. We're cool.
And then today's episode is Disney on television.
Here, let's play a sound for you real quick. If you remember this, you're a 90s kid, and you also probably didn't have Disney Channel.
Or if you did, your parents didn't let you watch it.
So today we're talking about Disney and its history on network television, so outside of their cable televisions, cable channels. Disney actually has an extremely long history with network television that no longer exists. They have no relationship with... Okay, I say they have no relationship. They own ABC, but they have no programming blocks on network television anymore.
Oh, all their animation is now pretty much on cable or on the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty much... Even their Disney Channel shows don't cross over anymore, which they used to do a lot of that.
I remember seeing just even the DComs on regular television.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful World of Disney aired 2. I believe they aired the Cheetah Girls and Cadet Kelly.
And probably High School Musical.
Actually, you know what? I think they only aired those 2, actually.
Huh.
which is weird because you'd think those really popular ones would be part of it, but
I wonder how they made some of those Disney Channel movies so famous.
word of mouth. They hit the youth nail on the head. They got the right. You hear me slapping my leg over here. They got the right demographic and the right mood for the times. The zeitgeist. They nailed down the zeitgeist. SAT word, everyone.
If you're old enough to take the SAT.
Right. My English teacher used to say that every time in high school. Every time one of us would use a big word, she'd be like, "Hey, there's an SAT word." So the first real program that Disney aired on network television is what became known as The Wonderful World of Disney, which actually started in 1954 under another name. It's been known under 9 different names. The original was Walt Disney. Sometimes he did stuff that had to do with the parks. They aired original movies. They aired animated shorts, all kinds of different stuff, but he hosted it, and it was his program.
There's a newer one that came out in, like, the mid-90s where Eisner hosted it.
Mm-hmm. In fact, the show over its, gosh, how long? I think it ended in 2008. Now I'm going to have to do some math here. So a little over 50 years. So 50-year run only was ever hosted by 2 people.
It's really interesting. People like to crap on Michael Eisner, but he essentially saved the Disney company in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And he did have some great ideas. Like, The Wonderful World of Disney is something I remember it was very prominent in my childhood. And that was, it almost didn't come back. But when Disney purchased ABC, they decided to continue the block with them. The Wonderful World of Disney is actually aired on 3 different networks. It's aired on CBS, NBC, and ABC. And there were times where it only showed a couple, and there were times when it had stuff every weekend. So it's been a long journey for that show, and unfortunately, the last time, towards the end of it, they only showed stuff like maybe twice a year, and the last time ABC broke out Wonderful World of Disney as a programming block on any day was to show Cars.
ABC has been pretty much the channel for, I'm going to say, news media, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and since Disney owns ABC at this point, that's their exclusive relationship. But of course, Wonderful World of Disney was basically Walt Disney's baby, and then it was taken over by Michael Eisner. But it probably isn't the most iconic Disney show that's ever been on network television. That title belongs to the Mickey Mouse Club. Wait, honestly, I'd insert the music here, but yeah, I'd insert the music. Right, I didn't start the music here, but I'm afraid of copyright strike. So
that's something that Disney would have their heads for.
Right. Nobody's going to care about the One Saturday Morning theme. Especially like 10 seconds of it.
I remember Mickey Mouse Club because when I was a kid, Justin Timberlake was in it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't watch it. If I ever did see it, I don't remember it. I just wasn't my thing growing up, but I do remember the theme song because I had a Disney cassette tape with it was basically like the best of Disney Volume 1. I don't remember exactly which volume it was, but one of the songs on there was the Mickey Mouse Club theme.
I remember that used to be the show people would make fun of because that's how Disney found all their teen pop stars.
Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is, the Mickey Mouse Club is an iconic television show, and when it began airing in 1955, and it aired immediately after American Bandstand, and American Bandstand was a variety show, but more geared towards music. Like, you would see all the new music acts on American Bandstand, but immediately following that would be the Mickey Mouse Club, which was more geared toward kids. So you'd have your teens and young adults, and then you'd have your kids. But for for what it was, that is an extremely iconic hour of television.
And then that was the 50s and 60s, and then getting more into the 80s, you started seeing one Saturday morning a Disney afternoon with great animated content.
Right. So Disney Afternoon was the one that came in the first one, and I guarantee you, if you remember watching Disney Channel shows from like 91 to 97, this is what you watched. If you remember Goof Troop, if you remember Darkwing Duck, if you remember Tailspin, Chip and Dale, Bonkers, my personal favorite. If you've never seen it, go watch it. It's probably horrible. I haven't seen it since I was 8.
Animaniacs made fun of it.
Right. So, I mean, those TV shows were a part of Disney's, it was called Disney Afternoon, and it was syndicated, so it was on different networks, just kind of depending on what network picked it up. I want to say it was ABC. It was ABC here. But, I mean, again, that was when did that start? Like 91, something like that? Let me look at my notes here. When did that start? Let's see how old I was. Started in 1990. I was 1 year old in 1990.
I was born.
So, yeah. So everything I remember about watching cartoons growing up would have come from this block. And because I remember when I was researching this, I looked up, because of course I remember One Saturday Morning as well. And I was like, weren't these other shows on One Saturday Morning? I remember watching them. Turns out they were in the block that happened, the block that Disney owned before that. And let me tell you, I have some fond memories of watching those shows.
I remember watching Goof Troop a lot.
Oh, Goof Troop was so good. I loved Timon and Pumbaa when it came on. I still, to this day, love hearing their rendition of Stand By Me and telling people the premise that every time Timon says, if you haven't seen this, it's on YouTube. Timon sings Stand By Me to Pumbaa, and every time Timon says Stand By Me, something awful happens to Pumbaa.
I remember that. Was that made as a promo for the TV show?
It may have been, because they used to have like little segments at the end of every show, and that was one of the end segments. And it's just the one that really stuck out to me because it's so funny. Like, and it's an iconic song. And instead of so darling, darling, stand by me, he sings so Pumbaa, Pumbaa, stand by me, which I always have found hilarious. But so Pumbaa, Pumbaa, stand by me. So, but yeah, at the end of the song, Pumbaa's like charred, and he's been tarred and feathered, and he goes, Timon, and he's like, yeah, Pumbaa, can I pick the next song? And he's like, sure, as long as you stand by me. And something bad happens to Pumbaa again. Poor Pumbaa, poor mistreated, unfortunate Pumbaa.
Poor unfortunate Pumbaa.
Right. And speaking of The Little Mermaid, that was also I think The Little Mermaid aired as part of One Saturday Morning. But they did have a Little Mermaid TV show that aired as part of one of their blocks for a while.
That was a good show. I remember the Deaf Mermaid.
See, I don't remember The Little Mermaid, which is funny because I was like obsessed. Like, my mom told me, I used to have all of these Little Mermaid plates and cups, and I had Little Mermaid everything. But you couldn't for the life of me, or tell me all of the, like, I couldn't remember any things people were telling me about it. Like, they'd say, you could recite the entire movie at 3. I was like, what? I don't remember being able to, I do remember being able to recite all of The Emperor's New Groove. But I don't remember this, but I do have some of the relics of this phase I went through.
I remember Little Mermaid. I remember the videotapes from the TV show.
Yeah, I have no recollection of that whatsoever, which seems so strange because it aired around the same time as all these other shows. I just never saw it, which weird because apparently I loved The Little Mermaid.
Well, what's weird is that I think the pilot episode, she tries to keep a killer whale as a pet, and all I can think now watching it is, why is she keeping a killer whale as a pet? 1, and 2, why does it need to breathe?
Wait a sec. Okay, I may vaguely remember that. I may be remembering something else, but maybe.
She kept it for a pet, and it doesn't need to breathe, and I'm like, what's going on, show?
And of course, that was also where the Aladdin TV show aired. And let me tell you something. I adored that TV show. And I think I've mentioned in here before that I loved the Aladdin TV show, and I still remember stuff like the episode where Genie has a girlfriend. She's green. I don't remember what her name is for the life of me, but they're under some kind of curse and they're like growing old together. I remember just breaking my little child heart. And then there's an episode where I don't know if it was like some kind of crossover or what, but Jasmine goes into the ocean. I guess she and Aladdin got into some kind of argument or something. She was looking for kind of an escape, and she goes into the ocean and meets these people who give her, I don't remember if they're mermaids or what, but they give her the ability to breathe underwater. And then one of them traps Jasmine underwater to the point where like she can't escape the water. Like she pushes up on it. It's like there's plastic on top. Like there's like, if you saw water with like plastic wrap on it, that was kind of the visual I remember getting. And I just remember that. I don't know why that episode sticks out so much to me, other than the fact that I would be horrified if that happened to me.
Disney was good at that with their animated content, just making you really uneasy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they were really good at it. There was an episode where Timon and Pumbaa, where Timon died. He straight up died, and like this taxi comes down from heaven and like picks him up and takes him up.
I remember Timon and Pumbaa where they're like making a wish on a whale.
Oh man, I don't remember that one.
I remember everything with whales. That's what's sticking out to me. Is that they're making a wish, and like Timon was giant. I remember that.
Yeah, and I guess I should mention that also part of this block were classics like DuckTales. DuckTales was one of the flagship shows for a long time. Chip and Dale, I think, was one of the originals. Let's see, what else was? Those are the only two that I can remember that were part of the original lineup, because the lineup obviously changed. Bonkers aired for 2 seasons in 3 years. There was a year in the middle where it did not air.
We had Tailspin.
Tailspin is amazing. If you have not watched Tailspin, go back and watch it. It's really good.
And Gummy Bears.
Now that I don't remember. That one may have been also one of the originals.
That was a late 80s show.
Okay. I was like, oh, that one's... I was born in 89. Like, I don't remember any of that. My claim to fame is that I lived in 1989 for 6 months. I was an 80s child. I'm technically an 80s child because I was born in the 80s, but I don't remember any of it.
I remember most of the 90s.
Mm-hmm. So, I think I mentioned this before, in 1997, Disney purchased ABC, and that spelled the end of the Disney afternoon era. So all these shows that were associated with it pretty much vanished from network television. I'm pretty sure they were in syndication for a while on some other networks on cable, or may just have been airing on the Disney Channel, but they were gone and were pretty much never seen on network television again.
Yeah, I think some channels got syndication rights to a lot of the old backlog.
Mm-hmm, yeah, there were a couple I think that had it, but as far as most of them went, they either went to Disney Channel and aired on Disney Channel. I think some of them may have aired on Toon Disney for a while. Like, it may have been a part of their original lineup when Toon Disney was started, but most of them were never aired on network television again.
There was the Mickey Mouse show, not Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, the one where he owns like a club.
Oh yeah, that is House of Mouse, which was a part of the One Saturday Morning lineup.
I remember that.
So One Saturday Morning started when Disney purchased ABC, and they decided they wanted to do a Saturday morning cartoon block. And interesting fact, kind of just a historical note on this, which I found interesting. They intended to begin their One Saturday Morning block on September 6th of 1997, but they had to push it back a week. It started on September 13th of 1997. Those of you who know your history will know that was the week that Princess Diana was killed. And ABC, ABC preempted and moved this grand opening of their Disney block a week later so that they could cover the funeral, which this year was actually the 20th anniversary of that happening. It has been 20 years since Princess Diana was killed.
That's horrible.
I know. I was like, whoa, because there were a bunch of specials that came out that I was watching because I vaguely remember. I remember seeing Princess Diana when I was little, but the thing I remember the most is when she died. And I do remember watching the funeral. I was a strange kid. I used to get up at like 6 a.m. and watch the news. And for fun, I loved it. I don't know why. I was just weird. But so when Princess Diana died, obviously I saw it on the news, and I remember watching the funeral because my mom watched the funeral. And I remember not really understanding, but it was a huge deal then. It was on every channel. Everyone covered it, and it was all anyone talked about for weeks. So obviously ABC would have made the decision to move this big premiere a week back because that was a massive news story. It would have been like if they had tried to premiere the week of September 11th, it wouldn't have happened. It was that big. It was global news.
Well, that incident was so bad, Disney they had a ride that came in California Adventure called Superstar Limo. They had to scrap and redo the ride because it was really supposed to be a high-speed chase in a limo running from paparazzi. Where then Diana died because she was running from paparazzi.
Right. And so it affected the opening of One Saturday Morning, but it premiered 1 week later, again, like I said, on September 13th of 1997. And I'm trying to remember what the opening slate was. It didn't open with the shows that you would expect. Those didn't come until like a year or two later. But the powerhouses of One Saturday Morning, which everyone probably remembers, are Recess, which if you don't know Recess, if you are too young to remember Recess, go back and watch it. You want a picture of what being in elementary school in the 90s was like. Go watch Recess. It is a fantastic show. It was so well written. The characters were amazing. I loved Recess. I watched it every week.
I remember The Weekenders. That was a 2000s thing, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I had kind of fallen off watching it at that point. Around 1999, I started leaning a little bit more towards watching more Kids WB because they had like Pokemon, and they had, which everybody knows I love Pokemon. Like, I'm so psyched about the new movie or the new game coming out this Friday. I'm just like, it's pre-ordered and everything. I can't wait. But that was when Pokemon started airing. At the time, they were our WB channel. I don't know if they all were. Ours had Sailor Moon in syndication at like 6:30 in the morning, so I would get up at 6:30 and watch Sailor Moon. What else were they running at the time? They ran Card Captors. So if you are familiar with Card Captor Sakura, that is the English name. Do not watch the English dub; it's awful. And but I loved it at the time. I still love that show. The manga and everything. It's just amazing.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
But Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess was around that time. And so I was like, I was such a little weeb back then. Like I was in middle school, and because I was a 6th grader in like 2000, and that was my jam. So I didn't watch a whole lot of Disney at the time, but I mean, I still saw Recess. I think it may have been in reruns at that point, but one of the other shows that they ran was Pepper Ann. And if you want an idea of what middle school was like in the 90s, watch Pepper Ann.
Pepper Ann was a very Canadian show.
Oh yeah, it was so Canadian. And it was also one of the first now I'm going to say this and people are going to point to Hey Arnold, but just remember, I didn't get cable until I was a senior in high school. So I still have only seen 1 or 2 episodes of Hey Arnold. And the only one I can remember is the one where they like take the train to hell. So, for me, watching network television, Pepper Ann was the first really political show I saw. One of the episodes that really stands out to me was the episode where they go to the tree factory or the factory where they make paper, and she sees them using this massive log and only coming out like with 1 toilet paper cover, and she just gets so angry about it. She's like, this is such a waste. And that was, I think, one of the very first times I saw any kind of message like that I'm going to say this again, I know Captain Planet exists, but it was the first time I was introduced to that as a child. I was a bit too young for Captain Planet, just by a few years. So I kind of missed out on that. So it was really the first time I ran into a lot of political themes like that.
I remember Hey Arnold just because I remember the episode with the Christmas episode where the Mr. Wynn, who lives in his boarding house, he was trying to find his daughter, and there was a flashback to Vietnam where he gave up his daughter to, I think it looked like American soldiers, to take her to America, and he was still in Vietnam. And I'm like, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing I've noticed now is, so I watched the evolution of, okay, so we're going to go back to the Kids WB for a little bit here because this is what I remember the most. I remember the evolution of watching Kids WB go from stuff like Animaniacs and Hysteria, which were amazing and did tackle adult themes, to stuff like The Mighty Bee, which let me tell you how much I hate The Mighty Bee.
Is that the show where the kid's a Girl Scout?
Yes.
I think that show was made by Amy Poehler.
Huh?
That show was made by Amy Poehler.
Oh, that makes me so sad. It was so annoying. And maybe it was just my age group. Maybe I was too old for it at the time. But I was like, okay, a TV show has a fart joke in the theme song. Okay, come on. So I didn't like that. And I did see a couple episodes and I was just like, this isn't. It just didn't feel like it was as powerful as some of the older stuff that I had watched. And I feel like that feels. I watched. Gosh, what was it that I watched? It was something about the history. It was the history of Cartoon Network. There is a video on YouTube. It may be called "What's Ruining Cartoon Network" or "The History of Cartoon Network."
Oh,
I cannot.
Is it by Saberspark?
Yes.
He's awesome.
This may have actually fallen in that middle gap where the old shows had ended. There was this really weird area where there were some not so great shows before kind of the second renaissance happened. And I feel like The Mighty Bee was one of those. They had they tried, like Johnny Test was one of them. And I remember just thinking, these shows are awful. Like, they are
Mighty
terrible.
Bee was Nickelodeon. Mighty Bee was
Nickelodeon, okay. Okay, so maybe that was after we got that. Because I do remember Johnny Test, because Johnny Test was right at the tail end of me watching Kids W on Saturdays. Because I had joined marching band in my sophomore year and didn't have time on Saturdays to watch anymore. So that was probably my freshman year is when Johnny Test started. And I just remember just being like, oh, like, they went from having stuff like Batman Beyond, which was awesome, to that. And so I was like, eh. And I feel like that kind of happened to Disney for a while. Like,
Disney
some of their shows.
Gargoyles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was part of the afternoon, the Disney afternoon block. I wasn't allowed to watch Gargoyles. My parents were like, nope, too dark. You're too young for that.
Nothing bad happened in Gargoyles, though. Like, there was, like, no violence.
Yeah, I know. I think my parents saw it and, like, saw what, like, the characters and just went, that's too dark for you. You're too young. So.
They look like Satan.
Basically. Like, maybe not at 5 years old. So. But, gosh. So, one Saturday morning was amazing. They also had Doug. I remember Doug. And, what else did they have that was really good? I don't remember. I feel like those are, like, the key ones that I really watch. Recess, Doug, and Pepper Ann.
I remember 101 Dalmatians, because I remember not liking the animation, because it did nothing
right.
like the movie. Nothing like the movie.
That's what I was thinking of. I was trying to remember. I was like, now which one of these was the one they kicked off with? Because I thought it was Little Mermaid. It wasn't. It was 101 Dalmatians. I remember having some toys of that because they had them at McDonald's. They had those little squeaky dog toys. I had Lucky. I loved it. I didn't like the show. I just loved the little squeaky dog.
Remember when 101 Dalmatians was, like, brought back for, like, a Dalmatian renaissance?
Oh, yeah, because they made the movie. The one with Glenn Close and Jeff Daniels.
I remember that timing, because we had a bunch of 101 Dalmatians toys, and I got the wizard that peed.
I do remember that. I had the book, like, the junior novelization.
I remember getting the toy of the wizard that peed, and that's pretty much what it did. It absorbed water, you had it drink, and then you squeezed it and it peed.
So this is going to be really weird. I always tell everybody that my first crush was Robin Williams and Flubber, but I think 101 Dalmatians may have come out the year before. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. My first crush may have been Jeff Daniels as Roger. My first celebrity crush, everybody. It was like a 30-year-old man.
Crap. I I forgot his name. I am very tired. But he played Marty in Back to the Future.
Oh, Michael J. Fox.
Yes, him. I adored him as a kid.
Also, other weird, so just random tangent on TV movies that got TV shows, kind of like Disney did. Back to the Future has a TV show. It's 2 seasons long, and it's where Bill Nye the Science Guy got his start. He does experiments in the end segment.
What?
Uh-huh. And I want to say it was Channel 27 aired it for like, because I was in 8th grade, and in 8th grade I discovered Back to the Future, and anybody who knows me will remember this phase, and it is the most cringeworthy phase ever. I was totally obsessed with these movies, and for about a month, maybe a little bit longer than that, I probably joined in a couple episodes late. I remember turning on the TV one morning on Channel 27, which was our Fox station, or it was we had 2 Fox stations. Channel 4, which was like the main station, and 27, which was like try-hard Fox station, where it was like, you're not really Fox, it's just everything that's in syndication. Well, one morning they were running Back to the Future, the animated series, and oh my gosh, I flipped so hard over that show. Little 8th grader, like I think I was 13 at the time. I love the weirdest shows. I already said I love Bonkers. Nobody even remembers that, but I loved Bonkers. Loved Bonkers.
Bill Nye the Science Guy is a Disney character.
Mm-hmm.
Schools all over the world were unknowingly showing a Disney product.
But yeah, that's where he got his start in television, as far as I know, was Back to the Future, the animated series. So, random tangent, but yeah, One Saturday Morning had amazing programming, and really was the first, for me at least, my first real exposure to Disney outside of the movies. Oh my gosh, so I was looking at Instagram and I just found somebody doing a female version of Milo Thatch, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Ooh, are we a Michael J. Fox podcast now?
Maybe. I mean, I could talk for days about how much I loved Milo as a kid. I was like he was my boyfriend and I was going to marry him.
Keita didn't deserve him.
No, Keita absolutely deserved him. He was wonderful for her. So they were a very cute couple.
He's going to be at a convention in Dallas next year.
Really? I didn't know if he did appearances anymore.
I didn't think he did because of Parkinson's.
Right. Well, anyway, I could talk about One Saturday Morning and reminisce for days, like 4 days, because I mean, just that was my Saturday morning for years.
Remember Proud Family? I remember Proud Family.
Proud Family was a part of the so it was the same block, but Disney renamed it. Let me see. When did they rename it? I have all these notes here. They renamed it in, I think I forgot to write it down. 2002. So One Saturday Morning in 2002 became ABC Kids, and ABC Kids ran from 2002 to 2011. And this is, so if you're a younger listener, you probably remember this. This would be like what One Saturday Morning is to us. This would be when Lizzie McGuire aired. This would be when Even Stevens aired a lot earlier, but Lizzie McGuire aired as part of this block. Gosh, what else aired? What else aired as part of this that I remember? Proud Family aired as a part of this block. My Gym Partners and Monkey aired as a part of this block. Let's see, what else was there? That's all I can really remember, but there were a bunch. There were a bunch of shows that, and it was really their first big foray into live action. There were a lot of live action shows that aired during this time.
The people who made Lizzie McGuire made a new show.
Really? They did?
Andy Mack.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was by the same people.
Yep, their first show since Lizzie McGuire ended.
Wow. Well, and I recently saw an advertisement at a Hot Topic. They're like, you can get Lizzie McGuire sweaters. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's really weird because I didn't much care for Lizzie McGuire when it was actually on TV.
It's hard to believe that show is vintage now and Hilary Duff is old.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Remember the single? Remember when Disney started just having pop stars sing all their songs?
Mm-hmm.
Disney Mania. They had Hilary and Haley Duff sing the Siamese Cat song.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like those, like we're just gonna redo everything. I think they still kind of do that, but now they just put it out with the soundtrack when it comes out.
Oh yeah, that awful pop cover
hmm
of yeah, with Moana. I hated that pop cover.
Yeah, I will say that I love the like pop hip hop cover of "You're Welcome" because Lin-Manuel Miranda's in it, and he wrote the song, which so it's cool to hear him sing it. But yeah, I did not like the pop version of Moana's song, which gone. Name of the song is just gone. I had it in my head and now it's gone.
How far I'll go?
Yeah, there we go. My ADHD medicine wore off 2 hours ago. So let's see. Oh gosh, I'm Googling this again because I don't remember particularly well what ABC Kids had. Oh, they had The Emperor's New School. Delightful animation for the time it came out. It was very, very good.
It was underappreciated.
hmm Let's see. They also aired The Replacements. I do remember The Replacements. That was okay. I was like, whatever. It had a good theme song.
I didn't know Replacements was Disney.
Yep. I know. I was what I thought too. I was like, wait, wasn't that on Kids WB? No, it was Disney. Oh, and they also had Witch. I remember Witch. I never watched it. I wanted to. I remember seeing tons of animation for it. Actually, at Disney, on their buses, their shuttle buses, they were actually advertising it while we were there. And I remember thinking, oh, my little anime heart is so happy right now. And I never read it, which is, for those who don't know, it's not anime. It's Italian. It's like Winx Club. It's like Winx Club before Winx Club existed.
And Totally Spies.
Totally Spies is Canadian and amazing. I like it more the older I get. I don't know why.
There's people that don't know that Avatar: The Last Airbender is not anime.
Technically, it isn't. It is not. Oh my gosh. Okay, so on this list is listed Fillmore. Do you remember Fillmore?
I do remember Fillmore.
I could have sworn that was part of One Saturday Morning, but it wasn't. It started airing in 2002, so it was one of their flagship series for the name change. Fillmore was really good. And it was one of the first shows I saw personally, first animated shows that had a black character lead.
Oh yeah.
So Fillmore was really cool, and I remember that being really good. Kim Possible aired during this time. Lilo and Stitch the series was on for 3 years. It's not good. I'm just gonna say that as somebody who adores Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch the series is awful.
It's very Pokemon-esque, which got to get all the experiments.
Right. And yeah, everybody was capitalizing on that at the time, because let's see, that started in 2003, and in 2003, you know what? I think the second games came out in 2002 or 2003. So that would have been the year Gold and Silver came out in the U.S. They were already out in Japan, but that would have been so kind of fit right into that kind of whole monster hunting, hype that was going on at the time. Digimon, Pokemon, anything Mon. If you can catch it, we're going to make a show about it.
Monster Rancher.
Yep. Let's see, what else was going on at the time? Oh, Kim Possible was airing. Now that was made for Disney Channel, but they also aired it on ABC Kids. Let's see. And then they have something in here called the Buzz on Maggie, which I don't remember. It was an animated series. It only ran for, looks like, a season? I don't remember that at all. Also something called Timo Supremo. Don't remember that either.
I remember that.
Tell me about Timo Supremo, because that is an interesting name. All I can think of is, it reminds me of Mucha Lucha.
I just remember that they had the little moniker that goes, Timo Supremo. I remember that because it came on at really weird times at night, and I used to leave because when I moved to Texas, I got Disney Channel via one source, and I used to just leave it on all the time. I'd fall asleep and it'd be on in my room, and it would come on at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, what's that?
And this is also when they started their live action show. So like I said, they had Lizzie McGuire. So the ones I think Even Stevens was in reruns at this point. Lizzie McGuire was part of it. They had Power Rangers for a while, and then some of the new. Oh, they had something called NBA Inside Stuff. I don't remember that. And then the newer shows were That's So Raven, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Hannah Montana, Phil of the Future, which is an underrated show. I loved Phil of the Future. Ricky Ullman was super cute.
I had a huge crush on Ricky Ullman.
Right. When I was in high school, I was like, oh, you're so cute. Like, I like that. And I was also a pretty big fan of the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, because for somebody who at that point was kind of like, oh, all these, because my little sister loved watching all the Disney Channel shows, and I just couldn't stand them. I was just like, oh, these are so stupid. For somebody who acted like that at that age, I loved the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I unabashedly loved that show. Still do. It is hysterical.
Cole Sprouse has like one of the most interesting Twitters.
Oh my gosh, I was on. Wait, it was Cole. I was on Tumblr when he did his social media experiment like 5 or 6 years ago. I remember that. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is so cool," and he just trolled everyone at the end. It was, oh, I remember that. There were so many people mad. I was just like, whatever. Like, it's a sociology experiment. He's in school. Like, he's a celebrity in school. Like, he can do this stuff. It can be legitimately researched.
Like, nothing like he did all this time as a kid for Disney Channel, and then he went to college, and he was like, I'm tired of money.
Right. I'm gonna be a hipster now. But yeah, no, so that was definitely interesting.
So I'm sure the kids remember Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Oh yeah, Sweet Life of Zack. Of course, the subpar spinoff, The Sweet Life on Deck, because it will never be as good as the original.
I have some trivia about Sweet Life on Deck.
Ooh, tell me.
The girl on that show, the girl that replaced Ashley Tisdale, she's from Keller, Texas.
Really?
She's from the town I moved to.
Huh, that's interesting. That is definitely. I don't know anybody. I don't know where any of these people are from. I've never really looked them up.
But it's like, wow, her parents must have worked really hard to get her headshot in front of those producers.
So when ABC Kids ended, that marked the end of, and this is going to shock everyone, that marked the end of all Disney programming blocks on network television. It happened in 2011. The last shows that were being shown at the time were The Emperor's New School, The Replacements, Hannah Montana, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and That's So Raven, which I believe was in, well, no, it may have been I think it was in reruns at the time. But yeah, there were four shows, and then in 2011, let's see what the exact date in 2011 was, on August 27th, 2011. So, gosh, 14 years after the block started, it ended, and that ended Disney on network television. But there was a very short-lived One Saturday Morning / ABC Kids spinoff. It was on UPN, so I don't know how many people even remember UPN. It was one of the channels that was like, up until Disney started airing stuff on it, was the channel that you watched if there was nothing else on, because they were usually showing some old Vietnam War movie. Like, I remember as a kid, I was like, this channel's so boring.
I just thought UPN was just like the syndication network.
It pretty much was. It pretty much was. It was, I think they were affiliated with CBS, I believe, because I think they showed a lot of CBS's stuff. But Disney ran a short-lived spin-off. It was on weekdays. It was a weekday spin-off of One Saturday Morning called 1-2. So ONETOO, 1-2. And these are some of the shows that I remember. I don't remember watching a whole lot of them. Some of them I watched a lot. Some of them I just barely saw any of. So I don't really only remember 3 of them. That was where Hercules the Animated Series came in, which was all right. I mean, it was one of my favorite jokes from that TV show is he's going to visit this person, I guess in the hospital. I'm not really sure exactly where it was. They tell him the room number, and this guy is supposed to be just awful. He's a mean person, and nobody likes him, and he scared off like 5 people that week or something, if I remember correctly. He gets to the room, and the room number, he looks and goes, XX, I, and that has always stuck out. It's just a funny joke. One of the things I remember about that show.
The show basically fixed a lot of problems people had with the movie, like the fact that Hades didn't know Hercules was alive until after Hercules trained him as a grown-up. Like, that didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Hades is Zeus's brother. He would have known. He would have known.
I was old enough at the time to recognize continuity, and I was like, wait, none of this makes sense in continuity with the movie.
That was just a very strange film, but I'm glad it made for a good TV show.
Mm-hmm, it did. Another surprisingly good television show was Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, and I will say, I was one of those people that when Toy Story came out, I thought it was cool. It wasn't really my thing. My little brother adored it, and so I saw it so many times that I just couldn't stand it. I was like, I can't stand this movie. I cannot watch it one more time. Again, just kind of at that age where, you know, little siblings just drive you nuts. I love you guys. I love you so much. But Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, the animated series, was really good. Miranova was the best, and the other day I was reminded of her. I was like, why? I could cosplay her. That would be super fun. Like, nobody remembers her.
There's some good Buzz Lightyear cosplays.
Yeah, there's some amazing ones out there. But I was like, nobody remembers the show, but it was good. It was corny and good, but Mira had such an interesting backstory. I loved her. She was such a fun character.
I remember getting a videotape of that show.
I love that show. Loved it. Used to come home and watch it even like after school. I was like, even when I was older, I was like, okay, time to watch Buzz Lightyear. And I was like, I'm not going to admit that I like this, but I love this. And of course, there was Sabrina. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the animated series. Not to be confused with the 3D thing that's going on now.
There's a new Sabrina now?
Yeah, it's 3D. I want to say it was affiliated with Cartoon Network. But it was 3D series. It was not good. I've seen like one episode of it. I didn't like it. I mean, it was just because I'm an adult. It's very much a kid's series now. Like, hold on, I gotta clear my throat. If I remember correctly, from what I saw, it looks a lot like Monster High, kind of that aesthetic going on.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was weird. So, but Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the animated series, focused on Sabrina in like middle school, I think is what it was. It was in middle school, so it was before the Sabrina the Teenage Witch TV series happened, and it was I love that show. So they got Melissa Joan Hart to come back and play, or not Melissa Joan Hart's little sister to come back and play Sabrina, and they got the original actresses who played Hilda and Zelda to voice them again, and they added this weird character named Quigley. I was like, where did this guy come from? He's not in the TV show at all, like in the live action TV show at all. And I want to say the original voice of Salem was Salem again for it too. They got a lot of the people to come back for it, and it was good. They had some really weird episodes, but they had some really good ones too. I think it only ran for 2 seasons, but it was one of the ones I remember.
Remember the digital diary toys?
No.
They had like little keyboards and you could like type stuff in. I had a Sabrina one.
Oh yeah, no, I don't remember that at all.
There's a button you push and it was Salem and it was like a Magic 8 Ball, only it was Salem. And you would ask it a question and you push on Salem's face and it'd be like, yes, no. And I'm like,
that's funny. No, I don't remember that at all. My sister loved that show. She really loved the animated Sabrina. Like I said, I was okay with it, but it was more just because like I had grown up with the live action, so I was like, oh, it's sort of like a continuation, but it wasn't. Like, and I mean, and for those who don't know, Sabrina the Teenage Witch is actually property of Archie Comics. Like they created her, and there's a lot more about her, the backstory, and it's nothing like the TV show. Like the TV show is dark. Yeah, the comics get super dark. Like the TV show it might as well be a completely different thing. But if you love Sabrina and have never heard that before, go out and check out some of the Archie comics and see where Sabrina came from.
Her comic for the TV show is what Riverdale is for Archie comics.
Yeah, basically. Like, it's like the other way around. I will never forget the episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch where there's a Halloween episode and Hilda and Zelda get turned into chickens. I'll never forget that episode. Oh, and the one where, like, there's a beanstalk and Harvey climbs up the beanstalk and there's, like, some evil witch at the top and she, like, fattens him up and is going to try and eat him and Sabrina has to go up and save him. Like, I remember that episode, too. It was super awkward because when he's climbing down, like, they put the most terrible fat suit on the guy who played Harvey. Like, it was like, imagine if somebody just wrapped a bunch of foam around you. That's what it looked like. Like a bunch of, like, egg crate foam with the flat side facing out. That's what it looked like. But it was so ridiculous because they were climbing down the beanstalk. He was, like, sweating and losing the weight. And I was like, looking back now, I'm like, that's so unrealistic. But it was funny.
But yeah, that's pretty uninspired.
Right. There were some great Sabrina episodes, though.
I thought Harvey from Sabrina and Steve from Full House were the same person.
I didn't watch a whole lot of Full House. My sister loves Full House, but I was never into it.
Steve's the voice of Aladdin.
Oh, okay.
So if you're wondering how they found that voice for Aladdin, he was already kind of famous from a sitcom.
So yeah, so that was Disney 1-2. It's just kind of, honestly, it's kind of like, it only, how many years did it run? It ran from 1999 to 2002, 3 years. It's pretty much just a blip on the TV radar. And most people probably don't even remember it. But it is a beloved part of my childhood and probably a beloved part of many people who were around our age who didn't have cable, and that was what they watched in the afternoons.
People are complaining, like, all these companies, like, you have to have a subscription to use their web stuff, and I'm like, well, you don't, because if you use a company for internet that you'd also would use for TV, even if you don't have TV, you can just log into that. With like, you know, DisneyChannel.com or CartoonNetwork.com, and you can still watch everything. You just need to unlock it by logging in like you would to log in to change your internet settings. Yeah.
Yeah, Disney's upcoming streaming service has a lot of feathers rattled.
Right now I like what they got going because if you have like Netflix and whatnot, Netflix is now what basic cable was for us.
That's very true.
Like, Netflix doesn't have everything Disney has, but it has some, like, their staple films, the staple TV shows. And if you really want something you can ask your parents and go on the website and look at it.
Right.
Now it's like, you know, when we were kids, we didn't even have the privilege of being able to, like, ask our parents, be like, oh, is there another place I can watch this show? It was like, no, if it was on TV, you couldn't watch it.
Yeah, those will always be, like, Disney programming was such a huge part of my childhood and growing up. Like I said, like, I did eventually switch over to Kids WB and start watching more anime and stuff, but when I was, probably from the time I was 4 years old to the time I was 11 or 12, those were the shows that I watched most Saturday mornings. And until... And I'm gonna cop to this, and people are just gonna be like, oh my gosh, until other networks started having, I guess, afternoon cartoons, like, because Kids WB started doing it after a while. And I think they did it in competition with Disney 1-2, because I remember that started around the same time. Up until then, the only channel in our area, at least, that had cartoons on it in the afternoons was the local PBS station. And I don't care what anybody says, but I love Dragon Tales.
There was like a Dragon Tales video game.
Really? Oh, I had no idea. I love that they had a different animation every time for the dragons coming off the walls. Like, that blew my mind, and I always loved, like, seeing the different animations. I was way outside their target audience. I was way too old for that. And Cyber Chase. I don't know if anybody remembers Cyber Chase, but that came out around the time I was obsessed with Back to the Future as well. And you know who voiced the villain? Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown.
Wasn't Gilbert Gottfried in that too as a bird?
Yep, he played the little robot bird that was their sidekick.
Why is Gilbert Gottfried always a bird?
I don't know, but I mean, oh, you're right. Aflac bird, Iago, bird from Cyber Chase.
Let me tell you a joke called The Aristocrats. I can't even do a Gilbert Gottfried impression because no one can make their voice that gravelly and annoying.
Nope. I'm not even gonna try. I'm not gonna grace this podcast with me trying to impersonate Gilbert Gottfried. It cannot be done. If it could be done, I would be a millionaire right now because I would have tried out for the Aflac commercials after he left.
So, people, if you can do Gilbert Gottfried, that's your challenge for the week.
Right. Just send us videos of you just saying different lines. Send us videos of you saying Aflac. We are not sponsored by Aflac, but I think it's hilarious.
Give us your Gilbert Gottfried impression. Or a good bird impression. Well, we're not picky.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much the history of television, of Disney on television. They were a mainstay for a very long time and now have completely disappeared from network TV. They are completely and 100% on cable channels only. There are some channels besides Disney-owned channels that show Disney properties now, like Turner Movie Classics shows classic movies. I think there's maybe one or two other channels out there that may show classic reruns. But at this point, it's pretty much just Disney Channel that you see any of that on. And really, you don't see any of the old stuff on there. Like, I think even Proud Family's out of syndication now.
Yep, it is.
So, unless they have them on some streaming service I don't know about, or unless you're streaming them, our mateys, there's no way to watch them now. They're gone. They're not on DVD as far as, Proud Family might be on DVD. Some of the newer ones might, but the older ones, if you don't have the VHSs of them or anything, you'll probably never see them. So, which is a travesty because some of them are really good.
Kim Possible was amazing. It was so good that Kim Possible was in Epcot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are some great shows, and now that Toon Disney has become Disney Junior, there's not really, like, I know that Disney XD shows a lot of animation, but it's not the old stuff, so there's not really an outlet for that anymore. And I mean, I think that's a crime. There's some really good old Disney shows out there, but I honestly, I will say this, I think Disney needs a channel like Boomerang for their own stuff.
That's what Toon Disney was until they realized that, PBS and Nickelodeon was making a lot of money having Sprout and Nick Jr. as channels.
Right. Yeah, and when you saw the animation fade out on the main channel, because pretty much all it is live action these days. You have to have Disney XD to see any of the new animation.
Or in the morning on Disney Channel, you can see the preschool animation if you're not too high and mighty for that.
Right.
You can watch Sophia the First, Elena, Bavalor, the Lion Guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their animation certainly isn't dead, just it's definitely more aimed at the younger crowd, and then over on Disney XD they've got more nerdy type stuff, I would say, like more towards the pop culture, like people, it's like Marvel and that kind of thing. It's all more action oriented is probably the best word for it. There's a lot of action shows. Chair squeaking. But yeah, I think I would love to see Disney come out with a channel like Boomerang for their own stuff. I would pay for it. I mean, if it was a streaming service, I would pay for it. I would watch so many of those old shows that I haven't seen since I was 8 years old. I would watch every single one of them. I'd probably laugh at myself for loving Bonkers, but, I mean, Bonkers for life, guys. Bonkers for life.
I would watch Boy Meets World on syndication forever.
Right? Or, you know what? I just remember this. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I saw it at Walmart last year for $19, like the whole series. And I didn't buy it. I'm kicking myself now because now I want to watch it. I want to watch as an adult so I can understand what was going on.
I remember all the TV shows getting really weird after 9/11.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was a weird time in television. A lot of TV shows a lot of stuff just petered out around that time. Like, just, some of the really good shows that were running were gone by 2002.
I remember, though, watching TV right after 9/11, and then there was a weird TV movie with actors playing the president and the vice president, and it was kind of gay.
Still a kid's show.
I have to bring that up because there's, show with George W. Bush being like, I need you at my side at all times, Dick Cheney. What's going on?
Right. So.
Speaking of presidents with Disney, Donald Trump is still not in Disney World.
Are we gonna like have this like a running count now? Like how many episodes have we done since?
Donald Trump is still not an animatronic in Hall of Presidents, and he's been elected president for a year now.
We will update you next week and see if anything has changed.
Is Donald Trump in Hall of Presidents yet? No.
We should make that like a running segment. It'll be like a 30-second, it'll be a 10-second segment. We can come up with our own music.
Donald Trump. Is he in Hall of Presidents? Nope. And a lot of people I found are actually on board with my theory on that, and it's because Bob Iger and Donald Trump had a falling out.
Mm-hmm.
So Iger is just being like, well, Trump, you won't listen to me, so you're not getting animatronic. It's just spite. Pure spite. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Bob Iger. Because if they can replace that section of pirates in like a month, why is it taking a year to put in Donald Trump?
Well, I think that's probably it for today. I would say for this week's question, just tell us your favorite memories. If you watched one Saturday morning, tell us your favorite memory. Was it the Great Minds Think for Themselves segment with Robin Williams returning as the genie, or was it the short-lived Squiggle Vision that was on there, or was it Recess, or was it Pepper Ann, or was it a later one? Did you enjoy ABC Kids more? Did you like Hannah Montana? Tell us about it. Tell us what you remember and what those shows meant to you.
Or just give us a good Gilbert Gottfried impression.
Yeah, or just give us tweet us a video of you just honking at us.
We'll take it. We'll absolutely take it, and the best stuff will be on a future episode.
All right, well, I think that's all we've got time for today, so just remember you can follow us on Reddit and our new Tumblr, which I will let Katie give you the names of.
We have our subreddit is Reimagine Magic, and our Tumblr is Reimagine the Magic, because reimagining the magic is apparently too many letters for these things.
All right, well then, I guess we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, and tune in this time next week. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.